Good morning again. Good morning. Let's start with a focus statement, shall we? Here we go. All the V's, vim, vigor, velocity, vivaciousness, whatever. All the V's. Here we go. I'm out of V's this morning. All right, here we go. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes, we do. So we have been focusing, our theme this year has been spirituality in action, and it continues to be spirituality in action. And this month's theme is cherish the human family. And this emboldening people to live their highest potential, our guest speaker this morning does this on a daily basis. And she walks boldly in the world, calling us individually higher and calling our organization higher. And it is a beautiful thing to bear witness to. And I am honored to be her friend. And it was funny, a couple weeks ago, we were in Phoenix for another friend's installation. And as we were walking into the robing room, Sonia, there was a practitioner greeting all of the ministers. And so the practitioner was gathering names. And so she goes, oh, and I'm Nancy, and you must be, and Reverend Sonia says, I'm Reverend Sonia Byrne. And so she goes, oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Reverend Sonia. And then Sonia goes in a little bit further, and then the same, we'll call her Nancy, turns to me and she goes, oh, and you must be Mr. Reverend Sonia Byrne. And we just laughed, and fortunately my husband is really generous, and you know, he doesn't mind that at all. And so, but it was just this wonderful thing, and I was like, and you know, as I sat with it, and you know, Reverend Sonia and I chuckled about it, but I'm like, you know, I would be honored to be Mr. Reverend Sonia Byrne because of the way she walks in the world. And I just love you dearly. And so I invite you to please come and take the platform. She has a powerful message to share with you, written by somebody, I don't know, that maybe you might know them. Yeah, so there you are.
Tell me that you're going to be introing that way today. Yeah. If you were my husband, we'd be having a chat right now. Let me just say, for setting me up like that. What a beautiful setup, though. I am in an experience here with you folks and with the folks online today. I'm in this experience of oneness for certain, because maybe you've had an experience where you thought a whole bunch of small incidents and decisions and opportunities occurred, and it led to a string of experiences that land you where you are. And you just look around and think, wow, you can't make this stuff up. You know, you're just in this experience. So Reverend Jeffrey was alluding to the talk today, and we have 52 Sundays in a year, one for every week. And as an organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, we offer to our ministers and communities, such as Reverend Jeffrey, a resource of weekly talks. And so it was in 2018 that your Reverend Jeffrey was asked to do a talk in 2019, and guess which Sunday that talk falls on? That is today. Can you believe it? So I get to deliver his talk here in my own way. And clearly, from the way that it was introduced, I have a lot of openness in how I do this today. I've got a lot of free reign going on. But this, seeing others as one and seeing us ourselves as part of one grand idea. At the morning table today, we talked about how sometimes we have these opportunities in life, these situations, these experiences that stand out where we feel really at one, like we do not feel separate from somebody or a group. And so there's these pivotal times we can all recall right now, something that reminds us that there isn't just us, that there is more going on in the world. And those usually revolve around pivotal moments like the birth of a child, the passing of a loved one, your favorite sports team winning tends to bring oneness. You can see that, right? So it's usually situations of high energy, whether it is viewed as positive or negative, and we feel like we are in this oneness. And so I just want to read some of the words from this beautiful sage who wrote this talk today, Reverend Jeffrey Ryan, well-known metaphysician in the Riverside community. Yes, we recognize that God is all there is, and that this being so, then the totality of our being is divine as well. If this is true for ourselves, then by law, it must be true of everyone and everything. All of creation is the body of God. All are the divine made manifest. You've heard God, the divine spirit universe, don't make mistakes. Yes. We believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of that one spirit. Individualization does not mean separation. And it doesn't have to mean uniformity, like we all have to agree. We are wonderfully individualized, and we are inseparable from each other and from spirit itself. Wise words. And so I think of the concept of namaste. And you know, if you do yoga at the end, you'll often namaste, or people will namaste and bow. And you can insert a word that is true for you, but really you are bowing to that in the other. So some people translate that as the God in me bows to the God in you, or the love in me sees the love in you. The light in me sees the light in you. There are some delightfully wonderful ways of using that. You know, the scoundrel in me sees the scoundrel in you. You know, the joker in me sees the joker in you. The person who's late for school every day sees the person who's late in you. You know, we are one. We are in this experience. We are never really alone, except in choice to feel separate, because it just takes connecting with another. And I thought of this thing that I call the smiling game. And I recall in 2008, I was living in Toronto, Canada. 2007, 2008, 2009 were memorable years in North America in general for the financial situation that was being experienced in our area of the world. And so by 2008, I had selectively chosen to leave a rather high-level corporate role, and I wanted to go out and be an entrepreneur. Well, I chose a very interesting week to do it in October 2008. I left on a Tuesday, and by Friday, I was sitting in my 14-foot wide house in downtown Toronto with my head in my hands going, what have I done? It was one of the deepest stock market drops that particular day. And so I'm not yet in spiritual community. I did not join CSL Toronto until January 2011. So I'm kind of in this, on my own, or before I joined Centers for Spiritual Living. But, you're always in this place of having a sense of spirituality that maybe you make your own if you've left a traditional religion. You haven't yet walked into something like a CSL, a Centers for Spiritual Living. And then when you do walk in, people are saying the words you say, they're reading the books you're reading, they're thinking the things you're thinking, they're going to the same jazz bar you go to, whatever the deal is. But you're like, wow, I'm home. I'm so home. So here I was sitting on my couch in my tiny, expensive downtown Toronto house going, oh my gosh, I have to pay for this house. What have I done? And in that moment, I went to gratitude, and I thought, okay, I am grateful that, I'm sitting on a couch. I have a couch. Okay, I had some coffee this morning. I love my coffee. I'm going to have another coffee. I love another coffee. I'm really, I was in caffeine gratitude, right? It was just like, yes, okay, just bring it down to something really simple I can manage, because the stuff that's going on in my head is not making me feel like I'm part of anything. It's making me feel like I'm right here. And so what I did was I chose to get out into the world. So the following week, I joined a networking group in downtown Toronto, and I went out and I met lots of other people who really hadn't chosen to leave a role, but had been let go. There was a lot of downsizing happening. People were scared. It was a scary time. People were unhappy. People were concerned. They were worried. They were in doubt. They had pictured, dark things occurring for them. They wondered if this economy would turn around, if they would get another job, and when that would happen. So I went and sort of gathered for coffee with these people, like every Monday, and in this downtown networking group. And we were supporting each other, and we were helping each other. And every week as I took the streetcar, the tram downtown, and then did the walk to the tall building that held this networking group, I was walking across the streets and at intersections and seeing the faces of people. And every week, the faces were looking sadder and sadder and more sad. And so I came up with this smiling game. So I just chose that when I left my house, I smiled. And I'm in a big city like Toronto, and they wonder, what is going on with that lady? I don't know her. Why is she smiling at me? But I smiled at the person at the bus stop, and I smiled at the bus driver, and I thanked the bus driver. And I smiled at the person sitting next to me on the bus. Sometimes they got up and moved to another seat. And then I would smile as I was walking across the street in the intersection downtown, and I would smile. You know what people did? Like by and far, they smiled back. It's a natural human impulse to want to be part of something else, to want to connect, to feel like, well, I'm just alone with my own thoughts in here, and like I might like to get out of there every once in a while, so how about I connect with you, and we can get out of our thoughts and kind of be one together. So I came up with this smiling game, and I've used it since in all kinds of countries where I've lived and worked, and I moved last summer, over the last year, from Newfoundland, Canada, which is a very snowy place in the North Atlantic Ocean, to Denver, Colorado, another snowy place in the United States. And I found in my new town, I smile at people and say hello. And I'm often the first person to say hello, in the two of us, by the way. And I'm the first person to smile, and my mom came to visit. And we were walking around, and she says, I noticed that you say hello to people first. Like, they don't say hello to you. You are saying it first. I'm like, I am not attached to who says hello. I am not attached. I'm not upset at these people that they're not smiling at me first. I want to smile, and when I smile, they smile back. And there's this instant connection for a moment that I know that whatever is happening inside their head, inside their mind, inside their body, inside their life, that for a moment, just a nanosecond, they are connected with another person. What a big difference that a smile can make. And so it is very, very easy to connect into oneness. And I know I have this great tie-dye slide here about this idea that there is only one of us. When you see this tie-dye, and there's some people in the room who are like, yeah, I like some tie-dye. And some people in the room are like, I own some tie-dye. Yeah, I've got some really delighted people smiling at me first from out there. And when you look at it in totality, you see this beautiful pattern, non-pattern. As a matter of fact, the people who like tie-dye like it because there's no pattern. It's not predictable, it's not paisley, it's all very random. Every piece is unique, just like us. Yet, the combination of all the individual pieces make a beautiful result. And this is much like us. And if you take one of the colors away, it's kind of a little duller, isn't it? So if you take one of us out of this experience, it becomes a little less interesting. And while, it does say here that we are all individualized experiences of that one spirit. And what I read in this, I thought, we don't all get along, and we don't, because we're different, because we're individual. And we've got some people in our lives that are like so individual, it's hard to talk to them. It's like, you have your opinion and you're over there, but I see some piece of myself in you. And so when we see these beautiful tie-dye patterns that are non-patterns, they really make a fabric. And each one of us contributes to the fabric of our family, the fabric of our work lives, the fabric of our organizations, the fabric of this community, the fabric of this center here. And so it's important that we are all in this together. And when we look at the fact that there is only ever really one of us, and this unity does not mean uniformity. In my next slide, I had this picture of sand. And so when you see, unlike the tie-dye, when you see sand, it just looks like sand, right? And when we put it under a microscope, we see all the different colors and all the different shapes and all the different granules that make up sand. Yet when you look at it, it does look really uniform. But it's kind of like, it's like tie-dye. So something that even really looks so much in uniformity, when we break it down and we look a little deeper. So when we think we know someone, we think we know a situation, in my new role, I can tell you there's always a whole lot more going on than we all understand. Me for others and others for our organization, for sure. And certainty can be the enemy of peace in that way. We can feel that we're so certain about what we think we know about ourselves, about another, about a grain of sand, about a situation. And all we see is that one slice that shows up in front of us, that we learn to understand or that we meet or know. And everybody just like that sand that has a pattern that ends up looking like sand, just like that tie-dye that is all wonderful and miraculous and very different and each piece unique. We all show up in that way. And when we were in the morning table and we talked about the idea that, crisis and beautiful things and a unified purpose really brings us together. And I recall an experience living in Cairo, Egypt. I was there for about 5 years, and I was there during the Civil War that happened in 2011 and onward. And it was very jarring, the experience of being in a place of war. It was very jarring to also be with people who were so different. Like, we think that we got it all sorted out ourselves. We're pretty sure that we know what's right. We're pretty sure that we know what's wrong. And when someone shows us something that's outside of that right and wrong, we're pretty sure we know where we stand on it. Yet you move yourself out into another geography, another culture, another place in the world, and they do something so totally different. They're also very sure about what's right and wrong, by the way. That certainty thing. They're also very certain. We're very certain. And I recall just feeling like the intensity of 100 million people living in a city, the intensity of poverty, the intensity of war, and it was a real assault on my senses, I'd have to say. And I remember in one of the early days of just getting used to things and driving along the highway, and so the driver was driving and I was sort of looking around and all the sights and sounds and smells, and it's a very loud and interesting place to be. And then this motorcycle came up next to me, and it kind of took pattern with the car. So we were kind of driving parallel for a bit, and I looked over, and my initial human reaction was, oh my gosh, there were 5 people on that motorbike. There was I'm going to make an assumption, okay, there was the dad, and he was the primary driver, and then there was a small toddler in front of him and the handlebars. And then his wife was sitting behind him, but riding side saddle, not even straight side saddle. And between the mom and the dad was another, older toddler. And then the mom had a baby, a brand new baby in her arm like this. And the first thing I thought was, okay, a bump could change their lives, right? And I mean, I was really in fear for them. And then I sort of looked at them, and then I was kind of fascinated, this is interesting. And I got my phone out to take a picture of them. And as I went to take a picture, the father turned and looked at me. I could see him very well because he wasn't wearing a helmet. And no one was. And he looked at me, and I looked in his eyes, and he smiled and I smiled. And I put down the camera, I put down my phone, because I realized for a moment there was disconnection. For a moment I thought, wow, that's kind of freaky, 5 people on a motorbike, I was in all kinds of story and judgment about who these people were and what was going on, and people back home are going to think this is fascinating. And I thought, what a jerk I'm being. I put the camera down because I connected with the humanity in this person, and what I saw was a person who had a family, And this was their mode of transportation. So now I am making up a story, but I've later found this story is, in the realm of accurate. And this person has a family. This is their mode of transportation. And so lots of people came over from the West and said, in the time that they worked on my project with me, they oughta, well, they is like a real signal of separateness, right? They oughta, who's this they? They oughta wear helmets. Well, the cost of purchasing helmets for everybody would be so prohibitive that they wouldn't be able to ride their motorbike. And this motorbike means that they can go visit their sister-in-law, 100 miles away. And if they didn't have this motorbike, then they couldn't. And so you just get into the experience of it. The woman was riding side saddle because it's inappropriate for her to ride any other way for a woman on a motorcycle. The kids, they had their kids, and this was the way for the whole family to have transportation. And I saw the beauty in that, and I saw, wow, I don't want to take that from them. I don't need a freaking picture. Like, I'm connecting with the humanity of these people, and I drop my judgments. It's not easy to connect if we hold on to judgments, and the thing that falls away is judgment. So when we're looking at someone and looking at a situation, and we can't easily connect in, or we feel very separate, it's like, wait a minute, what judgment do I need to drop away? What assumption am I making about this person and about their lives or about this situation? And who are they anyway? Right? Yeah, we are not in oneness when we are experiencing that. And so when we look at this from a scientific point of view, even according to quantum physics, and I know some people in the room are big fans, even at a subatomic level, even at the tiniest level, in the physical and the non-physical universe, we are part of an infinite field of energy and matter, just swirling. I love that you use this word. I picture this swirling and moving and vibrating. It is not stagnant. It is moving. And on a subatomic level, it is not possible to determine where anything begins or ends. It's like trying to find a pattern in that tie-dye, because there is no true separation of individual energy, despite what we see as appearances. And nothing exists outside of the field of energy and matter. And the essence of our oneness is our connection to this infinite field of energy and matter. And when I could stay at this level of oneness with this gentleman and his family, then I certainly felt that this connection was infinite and there was no separation. So you are quite literally everything and everyone. We are all parts of each other. At the subatomic level, there is not separation between you and the chair you're sitting on or the people seated around you. It's all one big oneness. There is no you and them. There is no they. There simply is oneness vibrating at various speeds. And so I was happy to see the speed that that motorcycle was vibrating at, because everyone was safe when I saw that. And you have the freedom to choose to see yourself in everything and everyone, and to treat all that you encounter as an extension of yourself, or totally different and wrong and bad and all the other things that we judge that has us feel separate. So maybe you've heard of this thing called the Golden Rule. Anyone heard of the Golden Rule? Can you repeat with me what the Golden Rule is? It rolls off our tongues, right? Treat others as you wish to be treated. Yeah. So we actually have the Platinum Rule. So this is an upgrade to the Golden Rule. You're hearing it right here, right now, folks, in Riverside. So when we treat others the way we want to be treated, we make an assumption about what they would want as well. Yeah, I know. This is why the Golden Rule needed a little revisit, right? So when we look at others and we consider how they want to be treated, and we get the signal of how they want to be treated, then we're no longer applying our limitations of our life and our experiences and our desires and our views of what is good and what is bad and what's right and what's wrong onto them. And we just let them be. Like when I was with that family on the motorcycle, just let them be. And the minute I could just let them be, I was like, woo, this is fascinating. And he was fascinated by me too, I'm sure. Equally fascinated for that moment that moment in time that now becomes part of my history that I can't forget, because the oneness was so poignant. It was so present, and it was so there, just like those other moments in our lives, those births, those passings, those, sports history moments. Back in Toronto, they're still waiting for their Maple Leafs to win a hockey championship again and get that cup, the Stanley Cup. And I just can't imagine the oneness that will spread through a city like Toronto when the Maple Leafs do. They haven't done it in my lifetime. Don't even guess how old I am. But it hasn't happened, so it's really a cosmic event of oneness that is just brewing to occur. We all know it, and they sell out every year because everyone is, they're with them in oneness. So I look forward to that. So this platinum rule, treating others as they want to be treated, in order to know that, we also have to engage with them, which begins with a smile. We have to engage with them. We have to ask a few questions. We have to care enough to find out what matters to them. And then we know that we are living in the platinum rule. So I will just close our time together here with a request for you. I have a request that this coming week, that you take a moment to connect with somebody, maybe someone that you see all the time. Do you know the name of the person who makes your coffee at Starbucks or wherever you go? Actually, Starbucks has this culture where they ask your name, right? Do you know the name of that person? Do you know the name of the crossing guard? Is there someone that you want to smile at? If you don't want to get to know somebody, start with the smiling. If you're kind of like, what, my life's pretty busy, I'm just going to smile. This is a simple smile. I'd like you to go out, start with a smile, connect in whatever way you can, and just allow yourself to feel that oneness, to just feel the connection that wasn't there the other 582 times that you went to buy coffee at the same place. And there was that person there. Yeah. So we have an affirmation today, and I'll say it and I'll ask you to repeat it with me in a moment. So with an open heart, I listen to understand others. Notice how we're listening with our heart. From a place of conscious compassion, I treat them the way they wish to be treated. So let's say this together. With an open heart, I listen to understand others. From a place of conscious compassion, I treat them the way they wish to be treated. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's do what we do so well. Let's join together here, this idea of oneness in prayer. So breathing in only oneness and connecting into that one divine idea that has us sit right here in our seats, that has that person next to us be sitting exactly where they are, in the knowing that everything and every event and every possibility that has brought us exactly to where we are in this very moment has been a divine idea in the mind of God. It has been a divine idea in the universe. It is absolutely, purely, exactly perfect. And so we connect into that one idea that we know is spirit, love, God, universe. And we know that it embodies the qualities. We know that this one idea can only ever be in peace, can only ever be love, can only ever be a unified experience for all. This one idea also holds all possibilities for us, holds all possibilities for the universe. And as a perfect emanation, a perfect individualized expression of that oneness, I know that I have access to all of these possibilities. This is the truth for me, that I too am peace and love. I am a unified experience. As I know this to be the truth for me, I know this to be the truth for every person present here today, everyone with us in this community, everyone online, and indeed for our entire human family. I know this to be the truth for everyone. Everyone. And so I simply sit in this place of knowing, and I relax my tension, I relax my judgment, I relax my separateness, and I sink into this one divine idea that can simply be sparked with a smile. A smile that I know, a smile that I own, a smile that I love, a smile that I have to give and to be with. And in allowing that connection to occur from something just so very simple, I allow my world also to open to whatever shows up. And I know that this is good and this is part of my personal journey. So with gratitude for everyone present today, with gratitude for our prayers and sending them out into the world, with gratitude for this center and the teachings, the philosophy, the global organization that we are connected to in oneness, the divine metaphysicians and mystics, Dr. Ernest Holmes, that came before us and set the stage for everything beautiful that we experience and learn together in community. Oh, with gratitude, I simply release my word into the law that only knows positive, only knows good, only knows affirmative, and I release, inviting you to say with me here and now. And so it is. Namaste.